Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's Deep South, home to Cycling Southland and the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Now in its 65th year, the Tour is one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. The list of past winners is a who's who of New Zealand road racing, and it remains the toughest test of the Kiwi calendar. 84 riders in 14 teams covering 7 days, 836 kilometres of full throttle racing, all to crown one man as the 2021 SBS Bank Tour of Southland champion. Day 4 of the 2021 SBS Bank Tour took the riders from the northern Southland township of Mossburn to just short of Queenstown, finishing up the Remarkables mountain range. An early breakaway of 19 riders made the first move of the day, but was kept in check by the peloton and was reeled in as the final climb loomed. A small group then made their play for a stage win, featuring the yellow jersey on the back of Michael Vink and Southland cyclocross and mountain biker Josh Burnett. Burnett, riding in his debut tour, jumped halfway up the gruelling 6-kilometre climb and was able to hold off Vink to claim his maiden tour stage victory. Burnett won the battle, but Vink may yet win the war, tightening his grip on the 2021 Tour at the halfway point, stretching his overall lead to 1 minute and 43 seconds as the Tour heads south to Bluff on day 5.
I think people thought, well, maybe we'll have a pretty controlled stage, nice roll down to Remarkables, and then the big guys will hit it up there, and it was actually total carnage for the whole way. A big group went out front, some top GC guys, and you saw the race was under pressure the whole day. And so, that's, I think, what makes this unique. You don't really see that around other road racing in the country, as far as I've experienced anyways.
I'm typically racing in Ironmans around the world, over in Kona and different places, not week-long cycle tours in New Zealand. The racing's a lot more surgy and tactical as well. I guess we're sort of pacing ourselves for an 8-hour effort, whereas this, you can be sprinting 5Ks into a 150K stage, so it's been definitely a learning experience, but it's been pretty cool to be on a strong team and learn from the boys. Coming into Southland, it's actually a refreshing change from having to juggle 4 different sports to just focusing on the one. So I've really seen some big gains in my performance coming into this race, but compared to the last time I was here back in 2013, it's pretty impressive to see the level of competition just increase, and to the point where I can almost barely keep up. It's pretty exposed down there on the way to Bluff, so I'm sure these conditions will make that a little bit easier, and just a tough climb to finish really. So looking forward to it, looking forward to getting out and perhaps giving another crack out front if possible.
Here we have all the classification leaders at the forefront of the race in the neutral section, moving around Invercargill. It's always a great opportunity for the general public, Doug, to be able to see the riders close and personal before they drop the hammer for the start.
Great way for the public, and the public have really supported this race well this year. All the school kids out again, just great. A lot of Go Josh Burnett signs out there today already, which is great support for the local man. And today's course is another tough one. Starts in Invercargill, obviously, heading out through the hills to Wyndham, all the way back through to Gorge Road, and then that huge slog down to Bluff and up the huge Bluff Hill. What a stage.
Yes, the difference being this year compared to a number of other years is there is no sign of any significant wind at this point in time, because it's always a quick exit out of Invercargill, but these guys still won't muck around as they try to establish themselves off the front for the day, because again, like yesterday, there'll be a group of riders sitting in there who haven't had an opportunity off the front, and they'll be also aware, of course, of the climb of the day, so they'll want to get a bit of a buffer before they get down into Bluff.
That buffer is always a handy thing to have, because Bluff is such a brutal climb. It's so short and steep, and you can see here again the attacking style of these guys is just incredible really. They attack every stage trying to get away. It's very, very Belgian style racing actually, which is just so dramatic. All the breaks, there's so many of them at the start. The weather will be a fortunate thing for some of the riders further back. They'll be hoping if the gruppetto forms that they're not too far behind getting down to Bluff, but there's no one getting away at this stage. It is all over the road.
Yes, they're very fortunate, these riders here, as they swerve from one side of the road to the other, because of the volunteers, the STMS, the road management team and the police involved with this tour make things extremely safe for these riders. These vehicles up ahead, the flashing lights, informing the public, giving these riders all the opportunities possible here to use the full breadth of the road.
Yeah, and see a bit of frustration starting to form at the front of the peloton with some of these riders. That looks like a business south rider across. Michael Vink is having to actually do quite a lot of the donkey work here on the front himself, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not these teams, if a break goes, who is going to be in the mix, who's going to get up the road. But Michael Vink at the moment is having to do a lion's share of the work.
Looks like Campbell Stewart up towards the front there at this point in time. The Bolton Equities Black Spoke team, they're very, very prominent here, as they seem to be doing the old 1-2 and putting a bit of pressure on the front of the race. Of course, all this is an aid of trying to snap the rubber band there with Vink and try and get the likes of Luke Mudgeway, of course, a man who's sitting in the top 10 in this tour at this point in time, and it would be fair to say he's had a fairly quiet tour up until this stage.
Yeah, I just love the the enthusiasm of these guys. They never ever give up. There's been a lot of dramatic events happen in this tour so far, but all of that means nothing. Every stage is a new day. Every race is a new race, and you can see here they are still trying to have a crack, still trying to get away. Michael Vink is having to do a bit of work. You can see him here now, a bit of show of force. Hey guys, if I'm going to sit at the front, I can attack too. Bold move. You've got to hand it to Michael Vink. He's really taking the race by the scruff of the neck. I know we've said that a lot of times, but I'm impressed with this man.
Another impressive looking ride here is that one of the tiniest guys in the entire peloton. That's Jack Drage there, just tucked onto his wheel as they go off the front a little bit with a bit of an effort. And some of the riders having a look around. You can see the man in the pink colours looking over his shoulder going, where's my teammates? Come on guys, get up here. We need to cover this. That's Bailey O'Donnell, of course, who had a fantastic climb yesterday to move himself up into the top handful in the general classification. But Vink, as you said, Doug, not afraid of being on the front.
And the pace is very, very high. You can see the group is all still together. Obviously hasn't split up and gone on ones and twos, but there's a bit of heat coming on now. We're coming through a few lumps and bumps through the Remu area, and you can see here there's a bit of a gap forming. There's a group getting away. Whether or not this is going to be the one that sticks, like we said, and try and get that buffer all the way down to Bluff. But what tough racing. This is really full on.
It looks like the figure there of Andy Hagan. We saw him at the top of the show. Of course, ringing at the last moment for the tour. He's ridden the tour in the past, but he's decided the Southland Sunshine this day here could be his. So he's decided to head off for the ITM team, and that's great to have them back involved in the tour again. PowerNet also representative there as well. Team Couplands, as we've already seen in the opening kilometres, are obviously keen to be involved.
There's no better feeling than getting away in a 3-up breakaway like this in the SBS Tour of Southland, looking over your shoulder and seeing clear road between you and the peloton. It really means that, as you say, that elastic band is broken, but it also means you can settle down, get into a rhythm, and being in these breakaways sometimes can be a lot easier and a lot more consistent than being in a group that's going forward and back and having a lot of surges. So a lot of these chaps try their hardest to get into these breaks because it actually long term can be a lot more settled in pace.
And speaking of settled in pace, it looks like the peloton there have gone to their formation of putting the leading team here with the man in yellow to the forefront. Part of the protocols, part of the expectation there when a break happens, that the yellow is looked at to say, well, you guys better get on the front and start to stir things along here to keep things under control. So the riders here now starting to progress through the undulations on the other side of Wyndham, and things could open up around here. There's a lot of hill climb points available for the riders as well, as we see the peloton coming through. A few minor little splits there. We can see Ollie Jones coming through, a man that's well and truly up in the general classification after yesterday. The yellow jersey scrambling across, the pink as you would expect, and of course the team, the Creation Signs, Mitre Q, took out a stage yesterday. They will be very motivated as they sling one of their riders in. As one goes out the back, he's done his job for the day there. That's Paul Wright on one of the earlier breaks, but he's put the likes of Burnett up in this front group, and they're heading off the front of this main peloton.
So these small hills coming out of Wyndham and across the Glenham area often do provide the springboard for this whole race to split up on the stage. And of course the way the weather conditions are today and the form of some of these riders, I don't think this is going to happen, and I think that big headwind that we normally get from Gorge Road all the way into the township and then down to Bluff isn't going to be a factor this year. So once again, anything's up for grabs, and these guys are certainly not throwing down the towel and watching Michael Vink ride away into the yellow jersey and say, hey, tour's all yours, pal. They're really getting stuck in.
Here we have the lone figure of the current under-23 national champion, Jack Drage. We saw him earlier on the wheel of Vink, but looks like he's missed this particular break when Vink and the co have gone this time. So he's now having to do a solo effort across. He's close to 2 minutes behind these riders. Now, this is going to be a huge effort if the young man can get himself across here, Doug.
Yeah, some of these young guys have really surprised us. And as this tour goes on, as we've talked about earlier in the race, the guys that have done the prep and the guys that have had the racing are starting to come to the fore. Your legs come right after 2 or 3 days of this race. The likes of this young guy here, Jack Drage from the Creation Signs Mitacue team. I know James Canny, the manager of this team, has been on a lot of tours of Southland. He'll be really, really hounding this kid to get him across, but he's looking sharp. He's really over the gear.
Yes, he's absolutely motoring, but of course in the back of his mind he'll know he'll be kicking himself that he missed that particular break as we look to the 3 leaders here who seem to be sitting up a little bit. And is there a reason? Yes, it is. It is the man in yellow and the combination that he's come across with. So they've shut down that gap of about 1:13. Ollie Jones from PowerNet giving a bit of a stir up, saying these riders, come on, let's keep it rolling here. We have an opportunity here to open up some big time gaps on the remainder of the field.
One thing that I can see has never changed in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland is some of the older guys giving some of these younger guys a bit of a curry up. I remember my first few tours in the late 80s with the likes of Stephen Cox and a few of the older guard giving us a big stir up as young fellas, and I see the traditions continued. Fantastic.
Yes, very much part of bike racing and that there, just sharing their experience, I think it is, Doug, but in a very positive way, I'm sure, as we see 2 or 3 riders just now, as they combine, decide to go off, and we often see this sort of thing. It's the same on the track as well, on the velodromes, that when a group comes back together, often the counter-attack, then you'll see who's actually got any sort of form, who's feeling okay, who's recovered quickly to be able to shut it down. But Vink on the front has looked at it, has decided it's okay at this point in time, I can keep this sort of thing under control.
Yeah, he really is much the gatekeeper for who gets away and who gets to stay away. If Michael Vink wants the gap shut, he's this kind of rider who'll just hunt you down and punish you. He really is the old master. Obviously, a few road cones coming up here for the riders. The marshalling and the corner stewards and so on this race is just, it's the best race in the country for it. They do a fantastic job. They're always on cue. The whole thing is a massive job, and you've got to hand it to them. The chaps in that department have really pulled one out of the bag here.
So it looks like Xander White, I think they're on the front for the Business South team in the pink colours. He's looking over his shoulder because he can see a rider trying to come across, and it looked like that was going to be Mudgeway. Meantime, these guys here haven't noticed at all, don't realise that there is another man going to join them. That is Jack Drage. That has been a mammoth effort for this young man.
Yeah, pretty supreme effort to get across. Obviously, once you get onto the back of the convoy, things become a wee bit easier. You're not allowed to use the convoy, of course, but he does have that advantage chasing across. So the chasing group here is still pretty much status quo. We've got all of the main GC contenders here in this group at this stage. Ollie Jones, obviously, he's in the PowerNet team. He will be trying to use this springboard and maybe his climbing prowess to try and catch back a bit of time he's lost. But meanwhile, the Breakaway is still at their work. Mudgeway and Nesbitt and Pithy. We've seen the boy Pithy on the way to Tiana. We know what his form's like when it comes to long breakaways. This man's been a revelation in this year's SBS Bank Tour. What a stunning ride he's having.
Absolutely, and he's obviously given himself a couple of days just to try and recover. He had a few nudges, though, off the front into the Remarkables yesterday, but today he's decided it's time to go. Mudgeway, I would suggest, is the man on the biggest mission here, currently sitting 6th on the general classification. This is an opportunity for the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team to try and secure some more time back. And it looks like White here on the roads down towards Bluff has decided he's had enough here. The Business South man is sitting up and he'll head back into the peloton. So we go from 3 to 2, and it is Mudgeway on the front. Pithy will be loving this. He knows that Mudgeway's here to try and get that time for the general classification. Meanwhile, he knows with the sort of times he's got, it's more about trying to secure a potential second stage.
The perfect situation for the young boy Pithy to stay away, like you say. But the chasing group and the threat that Mudgeway has got from the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team, this is not going to go unnoticed, and Michael Vink will be keeping a very close eye on that stopwatch for the time gaps to make sure things don't get too out of hand.
And speaking of which, at 2:51 being the gap, that should make Mudgeway the virtual leader on the road. I think he's around about 2:45, 2:46 in arrears of the leader here, and of course Vink will be very aware of that. They have the fortune to have the motorbikes come alongside them. They'll show them some times, they'll put it over the speaker system, and they'll be doing the calculations. Plenty to do all the time in the head, let alone physically for these riders. And speaking of physically, this is another huge day for this young man here to try and take out another stage, and Mudgeway is giving it absolute death.
Yeah, Mudgeway's the man who is really seeking to benefit here the most. The Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team haven't set themselves up and come all this way down to Southland to ride the SBS Bank Tour to get second, and the run into Bluff Hill is very quick. Once you hit this big right-hander coming up Lee Street, it's all game on. These boys are certainly taking the race to the Transport Engineering team and Tallies and the Michael Vink squad, so who's to know? The time gap at 1:27, that's quite a fair bit going into this climb. It's not that long.
No, it's not, but it's also been a huge drop in time over that last 15 kilometres here as we see the chasing group making their way down through the main street of Bluff. But those two out in front, they'll be hoping their legs are there today. Can they move themselves up the general classification, or can Vink and co here continue to put a huge indent into that time? But at a minute 27, this would be a very fast ascent of the hill for these guys to get anywhere near these guys.
Once again, you underestimate the Bluff Hill climb. You get to the bottom of Bluff, you've had all of those days racing in your legs all the way to that point, and it can really compound. It's very steep at the start. There's a couple of wee steps and stairs, and then once you hit that long straight again, you actually can see your other fellow competitors. So they're pacing themselves nicely up this first bit of the climb. There's Campbell Pithy. He's making a nice job of his start up Bluff Hill, but there's still a wee bit yet to go.
Yes, quite a different climb to yesterday's one. More of a punchier sort of a climb for these riders here. They'll still be riding some significant gears. You'll be looking on the back there for those who are right into the technology of the gearing range. They'll have 25 to 30 sprockets on the back there to ensure that they can get themselves towards the top, because as Doug said, it gets very steep towards the top as the next chasing group here, the chasers with Vink and Co, swing round and line themselves up for just over 3 kilometres of climbing.
Well, the Transport Engineering Southland team Tallies have done a great job of delivering Michael Vink to the bottom of this climb. You'll probably see a few of them peel off now, and it'll be on Michael Vink's shoulders as we saw yesterday up the Remarkables Hill climb. Michael Vink is at the front. He's the tour leader, but he is probably the more dominant of the climbers. Also in this is yesterday's stage winner in number 34, which is Josh Burnett. He won the stage up to Remarks yesterday. How much has he got in the tank today? Has he got enough to pull off another stage win? I think they may have left these guys away too far, but look, it's Bluff. Anything can happen, and there's still a bit of climbing yet.
And Keegan Hornblow there towards the rear of the group for the team Couplands. They've been out on a good mission today. So our two leaders, Mudgeway and Pithy, trying desperately to try and keep themselves off the front from that chasing group here. You can see the efforts that are going in. They've got to be feeling fatigued. They've been out there for quite some time now, and it's starting to show. Yeah,
there's just no option on the start of this Bluff Hill climb, on this portion of it. You've got to get out of your seat. It is so steep. You've mentioned the gearing. The gearing is just unbelievably low for a road race, and you can see that these boys are really starting to wear out a wee bit. There's the young boy Mudgeway unzipping the jersey. He's starting to get a bit heated up. The pace on the chasing group is quite considerably different. Michael Vink is setting such a high pace, but there's still quite a few riders in behind him. This is really exceptional stuff coming up Bluff. It's like a track race up a hill.
There are some significant players in this particular group. You can see the pink colour there. That is Bailey O'Donnell, the man that rides for Oxford Edge. He has got only a 1 second advantage to the man just up in front of him, number 14, Logan Curry. So those two are having a battle within this race here as well. But you go back to the front and these two, the zips are right down now. They are trying desperately to keep at bay this chasing group.
This is where we really see the long breakaways that have been in out all day on this starting to compound. And this is where these boys realise just how much matches they've burnt on the way down to Bluff. In comparison, the chasing group here is starting to split up. That's Michael Vink at the front, and I believe that's probably Josh Burnett looking behind him over his gear. So the speed of the chasing group is quite dramatic.
Yes, Ollie Jones, the third member of this trio that are still doing the chase. They can see them just up in front. And for those of you that have ever driven up, let alone ridden up this particular hill before, it is frustrating when you can see them just up the road. And it is now a bit of a move here going from Pithy, who's put some pressure on. He's already taken out a stage. Can he do a second one on this year's tour?
Campbell Pithy, the Mike Greer Holmes Circuit Asphalt rider, he's committed now. He's had a quick look over his shoulder. He's starting to get into zigzag mode, which is not a good look this far into the climb. He's still got quite a way to go. The chasing group here with Michael Vink, the Transport Engineering Tallies rider, he's out of his seat. The comparison in style is quite different. Vink is dead straight. Josh Burnett sitting down on his seat, dancing on the pedals now. This is where it starts getting real steep and where the heat really starts coming on.
Cycling is all about timing, and these three here have rolled the dice. Can they capture this man here, as you said, Doug, zigzagging all over the road here to try and secure himself a win? But the chasers, the yellow jersey, are not far behind.
The desperation you can see here on Campbell Pithy as he rides this last portion of this climb. This man is digging deeper than you've probably ever dug, and Josh Burnett and Michael Vink are having a super ding-dong coming around the steepest part of this climb. This is Josh Burnett's forte. We saw it up the remarks yesterday. The New Zealand mountain bike cyclocross champion. He can seriously put some gas on when he needs to. And whether Vink can respond to him today, and whether these guys have left it long enough, or Pithy's got a big enough gap. Josh Burnett, though, it looks like he's gapping Vink. What an impressive ride.
Yes, it looks very similar to yesterday. Jones has been dismantled. Now the yellow jersey is starting to drift off here. Josh Burnett is doing the chase of his life here to try and secure himself a second win. But of course, the man up in front here, Pithy, is doing the same. And he's the man that'll come out on top. It is another stage here, the BDO Invercargill to Bluff stage, to Campbell Pithy to take out a fantastic stage for him. And the man who comes flying around the corner, this guy has got some great legs, is going to roll into second place after getting over the top of Luke Mudgway, who's had a huge day on the bike.
What a ride from Josh Burnett, and what a ride from Luke Mudgway. He really rolled his dice, like you said. He had a crack at winning this race. It's not over yet for him. Josh Burnett so looking fresh. Luke Mudgway, he'll be absolutely shattered, but what a sterling ride from him. Michael Vink coming across in fourth, super composed. This man is seriously on for this year's SBS Bank Tour.
You're right, he looks absolutely composed when you look at some of these other riders who have absolutely spent the winner of the stage. But he got what he wanted to get out of it today, and he's added a second to a stage here in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. But a disappointment for the local man who knows he comes so close to securing his second stage 2 days running.
The exhaustion on Jack Drager's face says it all, really. Bluff Hill always is a stiff challenge. Conversely, Michael Vink looking so cool and so collected. He's seriously come here to win this race.
Vink continues to strengthen his lead here in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland with a minute 52 over Ollie Jones and Luke Mudgway, moving up into third place at 2:21. George Jackson picked up some early points of the day to continue to lead in the green jersey for the Harcourt Sprint Ace with 42 points. Campbell Pithy's effort off the front of the stage here today, taking out both the stage and the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains with 30 points. Bailey O'Donnell managed to extend his lead over Logan Curry and Hornblow in the Henderson Construction under 23 category. The biggest change in the Stonewood Homes silver jersey sees Andrew Hagan move himself into third position from Hayden and Odlin. Callum Nisbet is awarded the Macleay Jewelers Most Aggressive for the day. Bolton Equities Black Smoke Pros Cycling extend their lead now over Creation Science Mitre Q, and Team Coupland's moving into third at 21.49.
Bluff Hill's one of the most famous stages of the tour, so I'm super happy to be able to win up there. Everyone's hurting at this point. We're pretty deep into the tour now, so it's all level playing field.
I was pretty happy with the lead, to be honest, and I haven't really had to do too much myself yet. So it's when I have to ride myself that things get a bit sort of dangerous, and I start to panic a wee bit. But it's never happened yet, so it was good just to use the team, and it hasn't come to the point where I've had to ride yet.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.